tell her your subject had no bread? Do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Here, take the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, everybody. Hello, peasants. Welcome. Hello, peasants. Oh, the perfect timing for a coughing fit. Good morning, Shantini. Welcome. John Atakis. Good cold morning. What do you say there, Ron? Dang, barely connected. Shantini.
Yeah.
Carlito and Tiffany, good morning from YouTube. And Douglas Wyatt, good morning. Wow, you guys are just like racing for Ponyboy. You know what's funny? I mentioned Ponyboy in a 1776 event. Yeah. And like a whole bunch of people are like, we love Ponyboy. Ponyboy.
We're making Ponyboy famous.
Making Ponyboy famous, yeah. Ponyboy gets a shot. There he is, right there. Ponyboy, shout out. Pray the Rosary daily. Good morning. It is actually really fun. The little chat community we have. It's so fun to have you guys every day and hear your guys' input. I do read every comment that comes through. I just try to keep the show flowing, and sometimes I can't like stop and read your comment, but I see everything. Howdy y'all, Carlitos on Rumble. Thank you. Shantini, Peasants Perspective. Haha, I just hit refresh right. That worked out good. Okay, you guys. Oh, I know why you guys are here. The reason you come every day over and over again, although most of you were coming before we started doing this. It always takes me a second to get this open. All right, you're here for the simultaneous sip. It's long. I have to read it. Hold on a second. You're here for the simultaneous sip. I know why you're here. Cut this part out of the show, okay? I know why you're here. You're here for the simultaneous sip. All you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, a chalice or a stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid this morning. I like Diet Coke. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure of the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better, the simultaneous sip. And it starts right now. And I have no audio for this morning. So, all right, you guys. This morning, I drove past the gas station. I was like, do I want coffee? And I was like, nah, not today. It's kind of weird. It's unusual for me. I got sent this little link that I thought was really interesting. In fact, I think it was Carlitos that sent this to me. I think it was. Anyways, this is from the old movie. Do you remember the movie Blacklist?
I don't know how old it is. It
came out, I don't know, in the mid 2000s, somewhere around there.
I quit watching movies before that.
It was a TV show. It ran for a bunch of series. And anyways, the caption here is, if a dramatic movie is ever made about the genesis of the Q operation on 4chan, this would be the opening scene. When Anons were first told by Q who the enemy was and what exactly we were getting ourselves into by taking the oath. Now, I'm not saying this is like a Q reveal, but this is a clip from the movie. And just like so many of our movies and like TV series, a lot of them are kind of a disclosure thing. Like, hey, let's show you about our new toys or the new thing we're doing, kind of, they put it in your head so that when down the road, somebody mentions Epstein and Pizzagate, they're like, oh, that's from the TV show.
Right.
The good guys win. So don't worry.
And it's old news too.
Huh?
It's old news too.
Yeah, it's old news too. It's already in the zeitgeist and we've processed it and moved on.
Right.
So I like this clip because it's actually very descriptive of exactly what we have assessed how the world runs. And all the way going back to season 1 5 years ago, I was like, there's like 1,000 people that really control the levers of power around the world.
I'm here to tell you a story. I'm sure you recognize many of the faces behind me. They are among the most powerful men and women on the planet. They are also part of a global conspiracy, a shadow organization that spans across every continent and has for the last 3 decades, consisting of leaders in world government and the private sector. Some call this group the cabal. The world you live in is the world they want you to think you live in. start wars, create chaos, and when it suits them, they resolve it. Cabal members will move more money in the next quarter than the World Bank will in the next year. Their alliance affects sea change in every aspect of human life. The value and distribution of commodities, money, weapons, water, fuel, the food we eat to live, the information we rely on to tell us who we are.
What exactly do you expect us to do with this information?
Study it, investigate it to determine the truth, and then report it. Let me be clear. Investigating this group will immediately position you as a threat. If you do what I'm asking, you will be putting your lives and the lives of those you love at grave risk. In the end, the truth will out. Not all of us will live to see that day, but the truth will out.
The truth will out. Isn't that fun? What a great disclosure. They call it the cabal. Hey, I guess we didn't make up that term. Oh, what's going on here? You got it on TV like 20 years ago. They were telling us about this. And here we are, like Epstein's dead, right? Wow,
Yeah,
that's really
maybe.
Interesting. So yesterday in Washington State, a very sad thing happened. They did end up passing the income tax. So now it's sitting on the mayor's desk here, which is really too bad. And I said to you right as just seconds
governor.
before the governor, yep. Right, seconds before we started the show, I said, man, I feel like Washington State's getting ready to secede. Like they're trying to raise their own taxes, get their own policy. They're trying to disconnect themselves from the federal government. One of the other things we got along with income tax was the governor signed into a law yesterday. We are not standing by, leaving ourselves at the mercy of the federal government's chaotic, politicized, unscientific policies.
Oh, boy.
This is Bill Gates talking through the person of the governor. Okay. Yesterday, I signed my bill with Insurance Commissioner Cooterer to give Washington State decision-making authority on what vaccines to recommend. Meanwhile, Florida's like, no vaccines at all. And in the other corner of the country where we're at, they're going to chase us around with needles, Ron. It's coming. They've already got the concentration camps pre-built on a bunch of these Indian reservations, just ready to put us in them. I mean, we wanted to go full Australia in 2020. So that's a lot of fun. And then there's something that was really revelatory that went with this. So if you look at the House or the Senate, man, how do I get this to move? If you look at the Senate in Washington State, Brandy Cruz posted this. She says, if you just scan across the audience, look at this. We'll just mute that. But do you notice there's nothing on the Democrats' desks? There's no flags. But when you get to the Republican side, it's full. Everybody's got flags, right? So you on the Democrat side, no flags. Republicans, flags, American flags, American flags, American flags. Isn't that interesting?
Huh. It
almost makes you wonder who the politicians on the Democrat side of the Washington aisle there have their loyalties to. So as the Senate was voting on the income tax, one of our most famous billionaires, homegrown Howard Schultz, wrote a letter. He posted this. He said, I'm moving to Florida.
Oh, boy.
He's up and going. Like many Seattle-based companies, Starbucks today stands on the shoulders of many Pacific Northwesterners who built the company. They help shape the culture, benefits, and the brand, contributing to the civic community and public life of the city and state. It is our hope that Washington will remain a place for businesses and entrepreneurship to strive. It's our hope. Good luck, guys. We're out.
Yeah, I think that's more like, we hope you keep drinking our coffee. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take the revenue, but I'm not paying the tax rate. You know what I mean? Over the years, Sharon and I grew our family and built Starbucks globally from Seattle. He says they're taking the business elsewhere. He says the family office is moving to Florida, but don't worry, we'll leave the nonprofit there. You know, the nonprofit that isn't going to owe any taxes anyways. Oh, man. When are you moving, Taylor Shantini says. I said, as soon as I can get Ron to go with me somewhere, because the show must go on, right? Although we might locate the show in Wyoming or something, just do it remotely. Wyoming has great tax code. It's no state income, but they've got great protections for online people,
Washington's okay. I don't even have an income anymore.
What's the problem is they're making us report. That's the thing. It's like the wolf in sheep's clothing. It's not the taxes. It's like, if you're just taxing millionaires 9%, I'm like, I don't care, because I'm going to hide my income before I report over $1 million in taxes, right? But the challenge here is they're going to make everybody file, and they made it a felony if you don't. So even if you're not going to owe taxes, you're going to have to tell the government all your income and all your sources of income. And this is in opposition to what Washington voted for, that declared income as property, and it has to fall into the rules of property tax where it's proportioned and equal to everybody, which is why this bill, even when it does, because it will go to the Supreme Court in Washington, they're going to say it's constitutional, but you can't do the millionaire thing, and they're just going to make you tax everybody equally. I mean, it's really sucks. Carlite says, come to Texas. The problem is you're too close to the border. That's the issue I have. I don't know where to go, man. Florida looks enticing. I don't know where to go. I don't think we're going anywhere because, analysis paralysis on this one, I guess. Okay, so let's jump over and talk to Tiff Time said that show was amazing. Gave away so much, and good morning, y'all. Yes, it was. I remember watching it when I had the flu once. I watched like 2 seasons straight, threw up like 25 times. That was 20 years ago. Okay, so this is former U.S. Marine Scott Ritter, and he was on with Mario Nawfal. Mario Nawfal has the largest show on X, and he's based out of Southeast Asia somewhere, so he's not American. But he does pretty decent shows, and I actually use a lot of his content. He's obviously got a team of producers behind him because they're kicking out little things all the time, little explanation blurbs. I like it. I like this guy a lot. Anyways, so the war in Iran's going swimmingly, right? Well, you know how there's this whole thing of we're only as good as the information we have, and sometimes you can see people's biases come through. And when I listened to this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like smack you in the face.
You're talking about Israeli defenses, but at the same time, American bases are not being hit the same way they were in the first few days. I think you'll say this is a war of attrition. There's talks on the American side that most of the missile launchers were hit. The drones are obviously a lot harder to hit, the drone factories.
No missile launchers have been hit, Mario. No missile launchers have been hit. Let's just stop the nonsense. Have you seen the evidence? What we know is they're hitting decoys.
So I've seen the evidence of them hitting decoys that turned out not to be decoys. They were real. They were just black and white images, like 2D, right? Kind of like hitting the narco boats in the ocean. It's like, okay, it's a decoy. It's CGI. That's the problem here. The fog of war, we really don't know what's going on. They're not, the videos that they're releasing, people are like, oh, they're fake. They're decoys. So this guy's obviously on all of our missiles are just blowing up in the desert on painted aircraft carrier or painted jets on the runway, right?
I mean, they may have hit 1 or 2 missile launchers, but the point is Iran's missile capability to deliver missiles has not been interdicted at all. Zero. This mathematical
but the missiles, why did they drop the amount of missiles they fired? Because they should continue. I understand it's a war of attrition, but if they keep firing missiles, then the air defense systems, the munitions that are already depleted, will deplete even further. Everyone's talking about depleted munitions on the Israeli side, on the American side, on the Gulf side. So wouldn't it make sense for Iran to keep firing those missiles to deplete the munitions even further?
Well, they already have. I think Israel's down to firing PAC-2 Patriots, which means they can't shoot anything down. They're out of PAC-3s, which means they're already depleted. They're out. They can't shoot anything down. That was proven last night.
Or they can use the old gravity laser guided bombs because they have no air defense system left. So either we're running out of munitions and we're resorting to gravity bombs, or we're using gravity bombs because we don't have to use our expensive ones because they can't shoot us out of the sky. Which is it, Ron?
They simply can't shoot it down. So if you're Iran, you continue to fire 15-year-old missiles, which is what they've been firing, which, to absorb missile defense, or do you now transition to the big guns? Now that they can't shoot you down, now that they can't defend, now it's time to deliver the real damage. The real harm. They said they're going to turn Tel Aviv upside down. This war doesn't end until Tel Aviv is turned upside down. Israel doesn't get to carry out a surprise attack against Iran and walk away clean. That isn't going to happen. There will be a price that's going to be paid, and the same thing with the United States. Iran will not accept an off-ramp because to allow a ceasefire to take place at this time means you simply allow the United States and Israel to hit the reset button, and then you're going to do this all over again. This has to be the last time Israel ever thinks about launching an attack against Iran. It's over for Israel. It's done. Netanyahu gambled and he lost. And the proof is that they're looking for an off-ramp. If Israel was confident, remember just yesterday they were saying, we're in it for the long run. This war could last a long time. Now they're looking for an off-ramp. Why? Because they know the truth. They are defenseless, and Iran's about ready to bring the hammer. And they know that, and they know what's about to happen. So they're looking for an off-ramp. It's an act of desperation. Why would Iran concede all of the advantages it has accrued so far?
Yeah, I don't know. Because they lost? I don't know the answers here, right? I'm not in Iran. I don't know what's going on the ground. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of videos, and Elon Musk on X has actually done some kind of filter where it's trying to take out the AI videos, because in the first day, it was like AI videos, AI videos, AI videos. This happened in Ukraine. You had major news channels talking about the ghost of Kyiv. It was a video game. It was a video game clips. Some fighter pilot was knocking down all these Russian jets on a video game, and CNN was running it like, we have to support Ukraine so that we can, we need to give the ghost of Kyiv the Medal of Honor. It's insanity. Okay, so the fog of war, we don't really know what's going on, and nobody's going to really tell us the truth. If you're Iran and you're losing, we watched the clip yesterday. We're getting ready. Oh yeah, we've got it. We've got America backed into a corner.
The Iranian Bob.
Yeah, it's Baghdad Bob, Oh, we are pushing the infidels out. Meanwhile, M1, A1 tanks are literally rolling in the background behind them. This is like Anderson Cooper being like, the flooding is absolutely horrible. And then some old lady in rain boots walks behind him. You know what I mean? And he's on his knees in the water. It's like
with her Target bags.
So Abby Phillips on CNN had her panel on, and I thought this was kind of cute. My armchair my armchair copy of Sun Tzu Art of War says, "Don't tell the enemy what your limits are."
To echo what the Secretary of War said, and again, I haven't served. Certainly, I wouldn't supersede some of the people on this panel who have. But my Sun Tzu for armchair quarterback certainly indicate that telling the enemy exactly what your limitations are in a combat operation probably doesn't sound like the smartest strategy. Framing the plan in a way that limits what you can do or how you can respond just seems like allowing them to take more time to prepare the defense and injure American troops. So I don't blame, as you even pointed out, I don't blame Secretary Hegseth or the president for not wanting to just place a handcuff on the administration's reaction. That said, I do think that most people don't want to see ground troops in this conflict. I think that's a fair, critique from the public. I think that's a stretch. However, if ground troops are needed to secure enriched uranium, then what is the entire purpose of this conflict but for securing that uranium?
Okay, so basically, he just said they're going to not tell us the truth, no matter what. Are we in it for the long haul, or is the war almost wrapped up? We don't know. We are not going to know until it's over, right? Because they're not going to tell us, oh, no, we're going to occupy the place. And they're also not going to tell us, oh, we've already won and there's nothing left, right? Because what if a drone pops up? So it's kind of like this information detente where we're basically listening to Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump being like, rah, 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 let's go sign your children up for the military. Let's do it. We're so great.
I also don't believe this guy who's like, wow, these guys are out of these weapons and they can't do. That's kind of like, hey, man, I don't got any more snowballs. Go ahead and stick your head up.
It also goes, I don't know that guy, but I imagine he hates Donald Trump. He's a traitor because he's just got that. It's lies. We haven't hit a single missile defense system. Well, you're a former Marine. Are you saying the United States military is completely ineffective? That we have no technology. Like, I remember the discombobulator in Venezuela. That flipped on a dime. You know what I mean?
But also, how does he know that they don't have specific models of whatever weapons or missiles? I mean, how does he know?
Exactly. How much? Did you think
they're all out of bullets?
Let me ask Grok. Hey, Grok, how many Tomahawks does the U.S. have left? like we're going to disclose inventory amount,
right?
You don't know the top speed of an A1 and of an M1 Abrams tank.
I don't. No.
Nobody knows the top speed.
Oh, okay.
Not even the people who drive them know the top speed. They have a governor on them that they can turn off. And so even the guys who it was like, well, they go up to 45 miles an hour.
Oh, they're faster than that.
At low RPM. Like, there's a lot more They will never disclose how fast because they don't want the enemy to calculate how quickly they can cross the desert. Okay. Those are the kind of things like you don't freaking know. We have no idea what, they're using. They got lasers on sharks coming up. Donald Trump was talking about, right? Now, this is Colonel McGregor, who I have learned over time to kind of be like, he's always takes the doomsday point of view of things, which, you know, sometimes when you're hedging your bets, it's like, well, you know, if we're going to win or lose, I can pick one and I'm 50-50 if I'm going to get it right. To me, but listen to what he says. I mean, again, he is read in on this, not like on the intelligence side of things, but as far as understanding the military and operations and plannings. And he doesn't think it's going so well for the United States and Israel.
Well, actually, the Iranians have destroyed 27 bases in the region.
27 now.
27.
Okay, that's news to me.
I didn't know that there was one.
27 bases. Holy cow.
Has there been one?
Now, I dug into this a little bit. Some of these hits are like, they hit the guard shack on the fence, you know, like they got hit, but they didn't get hit. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, okay, they've hit 27 bases.
They actually attacked our air base in Kirlik, Turkey, which has been a key hub for U.S. air power across the entire region for decades.
So key, I've never heard of it.
Usable. We also need to remember that.
What?
So key, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I know. Oh, real important outpost.
When we say destroy, it doesn't take much to damage an airstrip or airstrips. In other words, to render many of these bases inoperable is not difficult. Now, the 5th Fleet space has been utterly and completely destroyed, seriously pulverized by multiple missiles. In many other cases, they've used relatively cheap, inexpensive drones that our air defenses have failed to shoot down. And when I say ours, I'm talking about the air defenses we established in UAE and other Gulf states using Patriot missiles and so forth. Of course, Patriot missile, if you fire it at 2 or 3 drones, is a pretty bad exchange rate because you're spending millions of dollars to shoot down a couple of $100,000 worth of equipment. But they've managed to also damage all the port facilities that we have historically used, even port facilities in Oman. And we were building a port facility in Oman that was supposed to replace the one we've been using in Dubai. And the reason for that was very understandable. We were looking at the vulnerability of the port facilities, and we needed someplace else where we could reload Tomahawk missiles and strike missiles from the Navy, the whole SM family. Right now, we've lost all of those. And the impact on our logistical infrastructure is huge because you're talking about having to fall all the way back to ports in India or ports in Europe because you can't use the ports that are in the Middle East. And then beyond those that have been destroyed or damaged, most of the countries in the Middle East have now turned away from us. And I think that's going to be the future. If I were going to predict the future right now, I think we will be swept completely out of the Middle East by the time this war ends. We will be finished in the region.
Do you predict this being a short-term
and that's a bad thing?
Conflict or something that's going to be long-term and ongoing?
I think this is going to go on for weeks, maybe months. We just don't know. Remember when we started the Kosovo conflict, the bombing campaign, that was supposed to last, as I recollect, 2 to 3 days, maybe a week, 2 weeks at most. Well, it lasted for 78 days. And the bombing campaign did not drive the Serbs out of Kosovo. We sent Strobe Talbot to Moscow, and he cut a deal, as President Trump would say, with the leadership in Moscow that agreed that they would tell the Serbs that they could not provide them with food, fuel, and medicines through the winter. And at that point, Milosevic, who was then the widely demonized leader of Yugoslavia or Serbia, recognized that he had to get the troops out because he didn't want to watch several 100,000 of his countrymen starve or freeze to death in the winter because we bombed all the energy grids, all the heating plants, and so forth. This time around, you're in a somewhat different position because you have an enemy that is far better armed with much more modern technology than anything we faced in Serbia in 1999. And thus far, the Iranians seem to be doing very, very well. I think their next step is to essentially eliminate all the air and ground facilities in Israel for the Israeli armed forces and force the Israelis to essentially fight from the ground without having much access to launch aircraft.
Do you think Israel's going to get absolutely pounded over the next few days?
I think it has been already, and it's going to continue nonstop. I'm told that President Trump actually sent a message over the weekend to the Iranians offering them an opportunity to negotiate. And they said not only no, but hell no. And I think they've had it with us because, once again, this latest attack did not begin with us. And we need to back up a little bit. I've been saying for months, ever since the 12-day war ended, that this would recommence. In other words, the war between Israel and Iran and us would recommence.
So with a guy like Colonel McGregor here, he has that personality where he has to be right.
Uh-huh.
I've been saying for months. So it's like, are you confirmation biasing yourself into this idea that we haven't hit any missile launchers? Like, are you that down on the U.S. Navy that they can't hit a target and the Space Force that they can't identify targets? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't believe it. Carlitz in the chat says, I think the U.S. military is dumping all of its old weapons. The new stuff has got to be light years ahead. I think that's the case. When they said, hey, listen, they can't shoot our planes down, so we're going to use our good old fashioned, Iraq smart bombs that we just drop and they're laser guided, so they hit their target, but we fly over the target. Like that was the thing. After 48 hours of bombing Iran, they couldn't shoot us down. How many of our Navy ships are on the bottom of the ocean? Because I'm pretty sure there's 50 Iranian ships on the bottom of the ocean now, at last count. Was it the Gerald Ford that sunk? Was it the Lincoln? Was it the Nimitz? I can't remember. Oh, none. 0. That's right. It was 0 ships. How many drones hit our ships? Was it 9? Was it 27? Oh, it was 0. Okay.
Oh.
All right. But a drone, the drone hit the airport somewhere, right? Yeah. That's right. That's right. In a hotel in Dubai, guy.
Okay.
And probably part of an airstrip in Turkey, I'm sure. They're probably repaving it right now.
We made some potholes somewhere.
I don't know. It just seems. Do we know? We have no freaking clue.
I thought it would happen just before Christmas. It didn't. Then it became clear that it was probably going to happen in January. We saw these demonstrations, which were grossly inflated in their importance.
Oh, you're taking the side of Iran. Okay.
We lied about what had happened over there.
Oh, well, people lie in war. Okay. Kind of like maybe you.
Arguing that tens of thousands have been killed, which is a lot of nonsense. Including...
and they don't cut the head off babies or, condone taking...
large numbers of police. Well, ultimately what happened is that they did kill the demonstrators, about 400 policemen, but we know that happened because the Mossad was on the ground with weapons and passed them out and urged people to shoot them, paid people to shoot them in some cases. And the demonstrations were not about overthrowing the government. They were protests about the sad state of the economy, largely as a consequence of our sanctions. And the government didn't disagree with them and said, we're doing everything we can. And they were negotiating a deal or a loan with China for $1 billion to boost the economy. As it turned.
Okay.
So, we have to listen to the other side, right? We have to listen to the other side. Otherwise, we end up being blind when we get blindsided. I don't want to be like, hey, Trump's doing awesome. And then we find out we're in another 20-year war in Iran and we can't win and we never hit any of their air bases. And they were holding the best for last. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Do they have a discombobulator? Meanwhile, Jesse Waters talked last night about the new Ayatollah because it passed down to the son. Now, this is really interesting. So some background on this. The difference between Saudi Arabia and the Sunni world and the Shia world is the Shias reject family authority. So Saudi Arabia is a monarchy. Father, son, cousin, their sons. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Princes, kings, that kind of thing. In Saudi Arabia, in Iran, it's a theocracy. So it's the religious leader rules, but he doesn't just pass down his religious mantle to his son. They kind of elect a new person and they're the religious leader, the supreme leader.
Right.
That's some hubris. Okay. So this particular Ayatollah has said for many, many years that the next leader would not be his son, but it's now his son. So if you're a hardliner and you really, because the whole thing is about the line of succession and you are anti-monarchies, what did we just do?
Fractured the people.
Fractured the theocratic base based on this nepotism. You know what I'm saying? So it gets a little weird here. So Jesse Waters talked about it, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday too, but he does a better job monologuing.
Alert, Iran went back to a monarchy. The Nepo baby's the new Ayatollah. The mullahs spent 45 years denouncing hereditary dynasties, and they just crowned a king, Khomeini Jr., the boss's son. He's 56, no resume except his last name. He's like Iran's Hunter Biden, except Kid Khomeini was treated for ED 3 times. He can't close politically either. He didn't even win a majority vote in the council. So the military had to step in and give him a little nudge. Half the clergy boycotted the coronation. No one wanted the trust fund terrorists to lead. Not the clerics, not the old guard, not even his own dad before we blew him up. Apparently, he put in his will, do not let my son take my place. But Mini Khomeini had a side hustle. He's sitting on a global property empire, Persian Gulf shipping, Swiss bank accounts, British luxury real estate, more than $138 million worth, upscale hotels from Frankfurt to Mallorca, a villa in the Beverly Hills of Dubai, Estimates say he's funneled billions of dollars into the West, all while under sanction. Passing power from father to son doesn't look strong. It means Iran's bench is empty. It's no longer a theocracy. It's your run-of-the-mill corrupt Muslim dictatorship. And it means they're really scared. Little Ayatollah hasn't even shown his face yet. No video, no pictures, not even a statement. At the official ceremony, they pledged allegiance to a picture frame. Where is he? Is he even alive?
On the new leader of Iran, there's reports that he's been wounded.
Oh, the new leader of Iran. He would be wise to heed the words of our president, which is to not pursue nuclear weapons and come out and state as such. As far as his status, that's not something I can comment on right now.
How can you rule a country when you can't even show your face? Doesn't the wartime Ayatollah need to show proof of life? If he's strong and capable and the Iranian regime hasn't collapsed, where is he? Rumors are swirling that he's been injured, but we can't confirm. We can confirm that he has a target on his back. The Israelis are going to put the whole Iranian hierarchy in the kill chain until a new leader can play ball. As far as Donald Trump's concerned, he's been clear. A lunatic hardliner is unacceptable.
Overnight, I spoke with President Trump. We spoke about Operation Epic Fury, how it's going, and his thoughts on Mustafa Khamenei, Iran's next supreme leader. He told me he's not happy with that selection, adding, I don't believe he can live in peace.
That's Tel Aviv in the background, and it doesn't look flattened. So I don't know. Again, I do know one thing. Oil prices spiked and then collapsed.
So I like how Jesse Waters is all, wow, is he even alive? He can't even show his face. And the whole time I'm like, man, do you remember the Biden years?
Yes, exactly, Ron. That's it. Jesse Waters is our Baghdad Bob. Okay, we've got a couple of them too. Okay, so I don't know, but what is one of the things that people who markets don't lie, right? When money's on the line, when I'm making an investment, I'm going to do all my research. I'm going to make an investment. I might make a loss from time to time. People might make losses. But when you're managing big amounts of money, what is the name of the game? Risk assessment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's risk aversion. And so there was a price in for the Strait of Hormuz being closed and for Iran causing all kinds of infrastructure damage. And oil prices, the futures and everything shot up, and the price per barrel went to $124 a barrel.
Wow.
It's really expensive. And right now it's at $77.65. Literally.
Look at that. Holy smokes.
Period, we saw the largest ever oil price drop since I think COVID, when everybody went on lockdown and nobody was on the roads, oil prices plummeted then. Yeah. But as far as, again, this is another one of those so are people not using oil? No, that's not the situation here. What it is people are realizing we can get stuff through the Strait of Hormuz. Don't announce it, right? There was some threat. Oh, there's land, there's some mines in the water. And Trump put out a post. If you posted mines, we'll hit you harder than ever before. And they've swept for mines. And then they destroyed 10 more boats that were mine setting boats and no mines. But if you're Colonel McGregor, the Strait of Hormuz is full of mines. Is it? I don't know. You know what I mean? Do you have the scuba gear? Meanwhile, the oil prices, they're dropping so fast, they can't even update the chyrons fast enough.
On Wall Street, where the stock market is still soaring to new highs today, started out down, but then reversed course and has only gone up since then. The Dow at 421 points. This as oil continues to sell off from those highs made yesterday, almost $120 a barrel yesterday. It's hard to update the banners fast enough. Right now, we're looking at oil now down 19%. That's a drop of $18 a barrel, and it is now at $77 a barrel. This is just an incredible swing. Here was the president on what they're doing about those, what were high energy prices yesterday. Listen.
We're also waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have sanctions on some countries. We're going to take those sanctions off till this straightens out. And who knows, maybe we won't have to put them on. There'll be so much peace.
What's interesting is he's talking about Russia.
Oh.
He's talking about Russia. Russia wants a way back into the world market. It's just right? They've been on the sideline, totally sanctioned. But think about the leverage here. Russia and Iran were allies. Russia has not rushed to Iran's defense. And by the way, it was confirmed they're not sharing intelligence with Iran. That was leaked. Oh, Russia's selling intelligence with Iran. Nuke Moscow. They're not sharing intelligence.
That's really interesting.
But Moscow's now got a dog in this fight because if Iran falls, we can sell our oil on the market. And Trump's like, hey, you want to play nice? Let's play nice.
Interesting.
See, Donald Trump understands all the cards he has to play. Zelensky, you have no cards. We hold all the cards. This is one of those things. He's unlocking that market, which he's not going to be able to back off. Like Marco Rubio said, 5 years, sanctions aren't going to work at all. They're not going to work at all. So it's like it's either going to just go by the wayside and they're going to work around you, or right now, when it's still effective, you can open the door and let them in. Does that make sense? And be, okay, come in, but on our terms. That's what's happening right now.
But when the time comes, the U.S. Navy and its partners will escort tankers through the strait if needed.
Okay, Mohammed El-Arian is joining us now as this news is breaking. I mean, Mohammed, we've watched the markets for a long time. I'm looking at oil, and this is just an incredible move. What are your thoughts in this moment?
It is wild, Sandra. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. We went from $70 a barrel a week ago to almost 120, and now, like you said, we're back below 80. We've come back for three reasons. One is President Trump saying that the war will be over soon. Second, we've had a tanker accompanied through the Strait of Hormuz today, which is a very important psychological message. And then third, we have a coordinated agreement to release strategic reserves. And that has brought oil all the way down from 120, which would have really hurt the economy.
I'm just...
So is it because we're winning and there's an end to the war, or is it because we're dumping reserves?
Well, I thought our reserves were already low.
Ours are, but other countries have reserves. There's like 1.2 billion barrels of reserves floating around in Saudi Arabia and these other places. So
so just on the world market, there are reserves.
The world market.
Okay.
I don't know. Is it temporarily down? Is it going to stay down? Or is it like, hey, the war's pretty much over now. Iran's not firing back. They're just sending out propaganda videos at this point.
Well, when the price is dropping a lot, it doesn't really feel like market manipulation. It feels like, real market pressure, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. We're blind. We're just peasants. We just got to live here.
Well, and remember, we did talk about this either yesterday or before. There were some speculators that were like playing a long game on oil. And they lost a boatload of money.
Lost a lot of money. Yeah. So Bill O'Reilly, I guess, talked to President Trump, and he has his opinion on how this thing's going to wrap up.
I believe that what will happen going forward is you'll have sustained bombing for another week, maybe 10 days. That should do it. That should knock out all the infrastructure, including the mines in the Strait of Hormuz.
Okay, so you see this photo here? Let me just back up. Sorry, Bill. Okay, so that guy at the beginning, there was a lot of videos like this, black and white, but they're, kind of from space, and it would show an Apache helicopter or a plane. They're saying those are just painted. Those are just painted on the runway. They didn't really hit it. Well, then I saw one where this guy was painted, and then it had a security footage from like a garage that showed it from the side, and it was a real helicopter that got hit. So it's like the whole idea that we're just hitting decoys. I'm like, do you think Iran had 5,000 decoys laid out in anticipation of that? Maybe. I don't know.
Including the mines in the Strait of Hormuz, every kind of weaponry they have, all the drones they have. Another 7 to 10 days should knock it down. Okay? And then I think you'll see an announcement that the mullahs, who's ever going to be in charge, want to talk. Okay? And then there'll be a meeting in Geneva, and there'll be some kind of capitulation on a part of Iran that Iran won't live up to, because they'll be so desperate they'll sign anything and they're not going to live up to it. And Trump will say, hey, we won. That's the likely scenario. I believe that
long term, they could pull a Germany and, sign whatever they can to capitulate and end the war, and then turn around and rebuild. However, change of leadership, change of agenda. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The other thing, too, is geopolitically, what's been happening is just stunning, because who's the real enemy, right? When we're talking about the United States and geopolitics, we're the hegemonic power with a rising power in China. So everything that's been happening has been kind of like the breadcrumb trail back to China. You know what I mean? Now, our thread has been the election fraud, right? We're following the election thread, pulling on that string, and it led us to Venezuela, leads us into Iran, and it leads us ultimately back to China. So all of what we're doing militarily in the name of narco-terrorists in Venezuela, but we got rid of the Dominion head, okay, with Maduro and all that. The cartel stuff was nice too. The drug trafficking is going to be reduced. That's nice. But we take over the guy that's stealing our elections, right?
Yep.
And then we thread back into China, and Cuba's a part of it too, but Cuba's just kind of in a blackout right now, so whatever. Okay, we're coming back to them, as Trump says. They're next. And so we're pulling on the thread, and we're getting closer and closer to China. So this was Jesse Waters, and I can't remember this guy's name. He's got a Middle Eastern name, and he's one of these big geopolitical analyzers.
This progress in under 10 days is historic. You just heard the senator say he'd plant the flag, declare victory, and come home. Would you?
Oh, yeah. You could even add more as I was listening to the program. This is a strategic victory against China because the Chinese leader told his military officials, be ready for war in 2027. Well, that is less likely now because a lot of their oil reserves are now being cut off from Iran with what the United States has done. And China wanted to use Iran as a second front to distract America from Taiwan. That now is not happening as the United States is taking care of Iran, so it won't be a second front. So this puts us in an advantage with China and makes war less likely. So I think that's a huge strategic benefit and outcome that nobody seems to be talking about.
This progress
So that's the thing, right? He's knocking out China's ability to wage war against Taiwan, which through the channels we've seen, the intelligence gathered is 2027 was the target. They've been building. And once this conflict started, China stopped flying jets into Taiwanese airspace for the first time in like 6 or 7 years.
Oh,
just stopped doing it. They're either out of gas or they're like, don't test the evil foreign devils. Right?
Well, I thought that it might have had something to do with the way that they saw some of their equipment functioning when the war kicked off and Iran was getting their
100%. This goes back to what Cernovich says. He says, you can count Tomahawk missiles and you can count drones and do all this math on what's known in the public. But then Cernovich is like, and then that Venezuela thing happened. And all those missile defense systems, the Russian and Chinese systems, all the Cuban intelligence officers that have infiltrated the government didn't see it coming.
Right.
And then
we just stepped right over them.
And then they got discombobulated.
Yeah.
And the butcher, Dulce Rodriguez, is like, I love America. Take our oil, please. Have some gold. Okay. So it's like, there's always the possibility.
So there's always one guy with clear eyes.
There's always one person that's like, I saw the best bodyguards Cuba could offer barfing on the floor while special forces soldiers walked in with DEA agents with warrants, went and picked up Maduro and his wife in their beds.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And those are the guys with the clearest eyes on the planet. They're like, oh, this is how the game is played.
Oh, okay. We're a little behind the 8 ball on this one, right? So to understand why Trump struck Iran now, right, a good case example is North Korea. In 1994, President Clinton was weighing the first strike on North Korea's nuclear facility in Yongbyon. Okay. I can't say that, man. If it's Portuguese, I can say it. Then Jimmy Carter flew to Pyongyang with a CNN crew, and he struck a deal with Kim the second Sung and announced on live television before Washington could stop him. And then Clinton just accepted it. Yeah. The agreed framework froze North Korea's plutonium program, but they ran a secret uranium program the whole time. The deal collapsed in 2002. Bush considered military action when the secret program was revealed, but with Iraq and Afghanistan consuming every resource, the moment passed. By 2006, North Korea had the bomb, and every president since has had to deal with it. What did Barack Obama tell Donald Trump were his two biggest threats? He said North Korea and General Flynn. Those were the two things that Barack Obama wanted to pass on to Trump. Don't put General Flynn in his DNI. Why? because he saw the illegal drone strikes in Libya and all that kind of stuff. And 2, North Korea, you're going to go to war with North Korea. Okay. And Trump rejected that. And we saw what happened in the first term. I shed a actual tear when Trump crossed the demarcation line and went and shook hands with Kim Jong-un. It was a big deal. It was a big, big deal. Okay. Trump's argument on Iran is simple. Diplomacy has been tried and it didn't work. When you're trying to get a nuclear weapon and you're a rogue state, they're not going to agree to what they sign on paper, because once they get the nuke, they can throw the paper out the door.
Yeah, that's the argument against the 47 years of whatever.
Yes, sanctions have been tried, covert ops have been tried, none of it is stuck. He decided it was unavoidable. Whether he was right to question, history will answer, but North Korea gives us a look at the alternative. If you buy the nuclear argument, right? If you're trying to avoid nuclear weapons, this was the only way. Now, North Korea has been relatively silent until yesterday. They just decided to remind the world that they still exist, and they launched a ballistic missile.
Of course.
I love the way these guys look. They're like kids. Jeez, they're so excited.
We're in the control room.
Yeah.
These guys have the best World of Warcraft.
I know, dude. So they launched the missiles just to remind the world, we're still here. We still matter.
We're still mad dogs.
We're still mad dogs. I think Kim Jong-un is sitting back just going, man, I'm glad that I wrote that letter to Trump. You know what I mean? I'm glad that we became friends all those years back. Like, I'll just play nice. I'll sit around. I mean, I don't have to be reelected or anything.
You know, all these years, Dennis Rodman's been over there just greasing the wheels.
Greasing the wheels, I know, man. Okay, so Gordon Chang, who I like his assessment on China. He's a huge China hawk, right? But I like his assessment. He was on with Chanel Rion, and he was talking about how China's basically been cut off with oil, and this changes everything. And they've also been doing so many military changes. They're really in a bad spot. They were not prepared to deal with the 2026 onslaught between Venezuela, Cuba, and now Iran in any way, shape, or form.
Elon Musk on X a few days ago shared a metric, a graphic showing how China is moving very quickly towards solar. Are they at a place right now where solar can maybe ease the load of the crisis?
No. I think Elon Musk got that one wrong because China sells more solar panels than any other country by far. But really what they're doing is they're exporting them. They want others to buy into this green energy idea. They're not doing it themselves. They're doubling down on coal, and they need fossil fuels. So no, they're solar, wind, hydro. I mean, no, that's just not going to do it for China. Certainly not solar.
What about Taiwan? The Taiwan has long been used as this focused piece of leverage that China uses. It always ups its rhetoric regarding Taiwan whenever anything happens globally. Where are they now with regards to Taiwan?
They've been very quiet over the last 7-8 days, just nothing occurring. And that worries some people. We should always worry about China with regard to Taiwan. But the important point here is that Xi Jinping's purges have made the Chinese military incapable of launching hostilities by invading the main island of Taiwan. The Central Military Commission of the Communist Party, which governs the military, normally has 7 members, now has 2. Xi Jinping himself, and he's not a military officer, and a political commissar, who's not an operational officer. So the chain of command has been severed, and basically China can stumble into a war, Chanel, and there's a high probability of that, but it really cannot go out and invade somebody, especially the main island of Taiwan.
Wasn't there, again, we don't have confirmed evidence of what happens here. We just know that players are being moved internally in Chinese leadership. But wasn't there a big move after the Venezuela invasion? The subsequent invasions, did those create ripple effects, or did they really just purge the military leadership, according to reports, after Venezuela?
January 24th, which is after January 3rd, the invasion or the extraction of Maduro and his wife. On January 24th, the Ministry of National Defense reported that 2 senior officers were under investigation. One of them was General Zhang Yaoshao, who was the #1 uniform officer, the first vice chairman of the Communist Party's Central Military Commission. That was an earthquake. That was just, that stunned the military. And right now, as I mentioned, I think that the purges have made the military at a point where it's just disarray. So right now, you're right. It was after Venezuela.
Yeah, it was after Venezuela. They were like, oh, we don't have a discombobulator. And they're man with secrets. If China was supporting Venezuela, which we know they were doing business, but if they were supporting them with subversion of the United States electoral system, intelligence gathering, and things like that, their man is now in U.S. custody. And this is a problem because not only Maduro, but the other people that have come out of Venezuela that have been arrested, they're singing like canaries.
Do you think Maduro is going to say anything on this, given that so much of the Venezuelan software, and I know you know this very, very well, was operated by his regime?
Yep. The short answer is yes. And there's others that they have in custody that are also divulging great amounts of information for the first time because they now know that President Trump means business. I mean, so yes, I think we're already learning a lot of things, and I think that is driving some of the things that we are seeing the FBI, the Department of Justice doing.
Do you think Maduro is going to?
So they're singing like canaries. Why would they be doing that? What's the thread here, Ron? What have we followed through this whole thing? I had to follow this thread to D.C., Philadelphia, Oklahoma, a prison in Missouri, right? As you poll on this election thread, we're the only ones that I am aware of that are pulling on this thread and saying, look, and all this action comes down to Donald Trump had an election stolen from him, right? And as you go through and you go back through the corruption in the government, you go back through the weaponization of government, you go back through the intelligence operatives, you go back and you start to see it. It's like all of our problems come back to the only way the cabal could win was to destroy the United States and her Constitution. It was the only way they could do it. And so that has been their vector of attack. Slowly but quietly, they've been doing it using random. I never, when growing up, I never thought Venezuela would be a threat to our electoral system. You know what I mean? But it's starting to come out. Now, when you are talking to your friends and family and you're telling them about this great show you listen to every morning, remind them that we're the only show that is connecting how all this international stuff isn't just about gas prices. It's actually about your ballots. It is actually connected to your daily life and your ability to have sovereignty. It's not just about two great powers, America and China, duking it out. America is a peace-loving nation, period. We have no business doing anything other than going to work, taking care of our families, and pursuing happiness and living our American dream. And we would just assume the rest of the world would do the same.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you infringe upon our peace and our posterity and our ability to act freely, to choose our path of happiness, we got a problem. And that's been the case since the day we wrote that Declaration of Independence. We have fiercely guarded our ability to have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And so here it is. We've connected this whole thread. And now, hopefully this week, we're going to see where it leads. It leads straight to China.
China might be intervening in the U.S. election, getting fake driver's licenses and fake ballots so they can help Joe Biden win. And what does the FBI do with that one? It says, circular, we're going to throw it in the garbage can. That is the FBI in 2020. It was just as bad and maybe even worse under Chris Wray than it was in 2016 under Comey. The mindset was not crushed, and it became more emboldened in 20. And then in 21, 22, you see how emboldened it is when they get to Arctic frost. This cancer kept spreading. It kept metastasizing. And more people thought it was okay to settle political scores under the power of government color. And I think that's the cancer we're now fighting. And it's more deep rooted today than it's ever been. There's been a lot of, progress made in firing and moving people. But there are agencies we don't even talk about, like the National Archives, that were in on this. They were helping this machinery to crush MAGA, create the MAGA dragnet and crash the MAGA movement. And we have a lot of work to expose who all those people are. We're hardly maybe 3% into the project.
And
China
where did it come from?
Might be
China
intervening
was
in the U.S.
directly
election.
involved in driver's licenses. We covered this. Not just recently. We covered this 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Before I went to DC to say, hey, I think this election might be stolen. Okay. We covered this. This is the thread that we're pulling on. The narco terrorism. That's a fringe benefit. Get rid of that and secure our elections. Oh, have Iran not have a nuclear election and secure our elections? Oh, put China in a box and secure our elections?
Well, if our elections were really free and secure, I don't think we'd even have this podcast.
We wouldn't, Ron, because we'd be out living our lives, pursuing happiness instead of here beating on a drum every day.
Well,
right?
I think that I'm just saying that so that people understand the importance of the point. I mean, the whole reason we're doing this podcast is because of this thread.
It is because, yes. It started with COVID. That was the eye opener. Whoa, they can tell me to shut down my business?
Yeah.
Because of some virus coming out of China? China. There it is again. China.
Huh.
Oh my gosh. Why would China release a bioweapon on the United States in 2020? Because they wanted to install their puppet. The one that they gave his son $1.5 billion in a fund to trade and earn commissions on. That guy. Right? That guy. Now, Senator John Thune was asked, hey, why don't you pass the Save America Act? Because in all of this, since Venezuela and Cuba, you'd think Trump would be like the imperial king, and they'd be like, you're making, all of our districts are making bombs. The military industrial complex is happy. I mean, how could it not be right now? You're reestablishing American supremacy and military might.
Right.
This is just unbelievable what we're doing. So, let's use that political capital. But instead, Donald Trump is pushing to clean up our elections.
Right.
But
that's so
Trump,
weird.
But Trump, you just won, and you got majorities. You got a House, you got the Senate. Why can't you just be happy?
Well, my brother-in-law thinks I'm crazy because the elections are fair and free. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, of course. So, we're trying to get this Save America Act passed, and Senator Thune gets asked about it. Hey, why don't we do it?
Do you run a risk of being on the wrong side of President Trump in your resistance to do this talking filibuster, tying the Senate in knots for weeks?
We don't have the votes.
Oh, okay. So let's go over the senators that we know in 2020 showed up. Mark Kelly, who's the other senator from Arizona? I can't remember. But both of them come through election fraud. The two senators from Georgia, both red states, by the way. We got 4 Democrat senators coming out of solid red states, right? In these fraud. So you got 4 senators at a minimum. And then you got Fetterman, who I think was their screw up. Okay, because we would have had Mehmet Oz, who I don't know would have been as good a senator as he is a health secretary or a Medicaid secretary, whatever he is. But either way, right, we got Fetterman out of it and shot themselves in the foot on that one. Okay, but we got Fetterman. There's a whole bunch of them. So he's like, hey, we don't have the votes. We don't have the votes. Okay.
Either to proceed, get on a talking filibuster, nor to sustain one if we got on. But that is just a function of math. And there's anything I can do about that. I mean, I understand the president's got a passion to see this issue addressed, as we all do.
Does he understand that, though?
Well, we've conveyed that to him, but we will continue to make that argument because I think it's important that everybody understand that this really is about the votes. It's about the math. And I'm for better or worse, I'm the one who has to be the clear-eyed realist about what we can achieve here. And so we'll continue to convey that. And I think that we're going to have a fight on the floor. We're going to vote on this. We're going to put it up, and we'll give the Democrats the opportunity to cast their vote on whether or not they think non-citizens ought to vote in American elections. And so that debate will happen. But like I said, I can guarantee the debate. I can guarantee a vote. I just can't guarantee an outcome.
Did he just say we'll have a debate on whether or not we're going to allow non-citizens to vote? Did that just come out of his mouth? Did that come out of his mouth?
Yep.
Now, Peter Schweitzer, in his book, wrote about the U.S. birthing industry, where foreigners come here to have babies so they can get U.S. citizenship and then go back home. They said China has 1.5 to 2 million U.S. citizens living in China that were just born here and taken back to China as infants and are being raised there. And you know what's interesting about it? When you vote from abroad, you can pick where you vote. So they can put 2 million votes right here in Kitsap County if they wanted to, Ron.
Wow.
They can do that. It's completely acceptable and allowable under our current laws.
Huh.
So are they U.S. citizens? Okay, what about the actual illegals? Because there's been a slew of illegals that have been arrested, but they're one-offs, right? One guy in Alabama, one person in Maine, this guy in Illinois. So, yeah, but there's a pattern here. It's obviously easy to vote. So let's look at John Thune. Data Republican put this out yesterday, and she goes, at Punchbowl News, would you like to comment on this business model of reverse engineers how you keep leader John Thune in line? So what is Punchbowl News? Punchbowl News is an Axios publication, and it's a huge publication in the District of Columbia. You've never heard of it because why would you? But this is the news channel that people in DC politicos open up. Punchbowl News. Punchbowl, by the way, is the Secret Service's code word for the Capitol. The Punchbowl. Okay.
Okay.
And so it's Punchbowl News. So here's how it works. You've got Punchbowl News right here, and John Thune is like their number one guy. Okay. So here. Let me show you this chart here. Okay. So this is John Thune. Punchbowl is Thune Bowl. Not only does Thune receive tons of money from their sponsors, Thune is also by far their most prominently featured congressman member. So you look here, John Thune, this is his mentions in Punchbowl News. It's way bigger than Chuck Schumer, the number two guy, Hakeem Jeffries, down the line you go.
Wow.
Okay. So he's considered first voice. He gets priority on Punchbowl News. He always gets featured. So here's how it works. Punchbowl News gets special access to leader John Thune. Leader John Thune blocks the SAVE Act, right? And interests are protected in funding for whose corporate sponsors? Punchbowl News corporate sponsors, who these corporate sponsors pay Punchbowl about $9 million a year.
Okay.
Punchbowl News has a circulation of about 65,000 a month. If you take the number of staffers in DC and you times it by the number of days a month, guess how many opens you would get? 65,000.
So this is
their
a newsletter.
advertisers are not paying for advertising to like normal people.
This is just a newsletter.
It's
internal.
a newsletter that basically only they care about.
Right. Internal newsletter.
Yes. And guys like me, I'll tap into it sometimes to see what the thing is, but it's Punchbowl News, right? It's just another one of these news aggregators, but it's very specific and focused. Well, of the corporate sponsors that sponsor Punchbowl News, Senator Thune gets about $1.2 million in direct PAC donations. Okay. So then if you dig into Punchbowl News, here's some of their sponsors: Goldman Sachs, Comcast, Chevron, Merrick, Wells Fargo, ExxonMobil, American Express, Google, Alphabet, Meta, Facebook, Intel, Pharma, American Investment Council, Blackstone, Microsoft, JP Morgan Chase, Johnson & Johnson, and Amazon. Are there any conservative groups on that list at all? So you've got a whole slew of far left American organizations donating significant amount of money to John Thune. This is his donor list. That are also Punchbowl News sponsors. So you see the 1-2 punch here. They pay for Punchbowl News, they feature John Thune, and then they donate to John Thune, and he makes sure the SAVE Act doesn't get passed and that their funding and everything stays. Do you see this?
That's pretty weird.
This is your list of cabal members here. Let's go back to the beginning of the show. All right. So now let's look at this. So you've seen that graph. Here's a little bit of a nicer way to show it here. Okay. Punchbowl News, Punchbowl ad buys ads in Punchbowl News, direct access to Senator Thune, sponsors benefit from favored policies, sponsors donate to Thune and Congress, and we see the cycle, the influence cycle, the weed, water, repeat cycle here. Oh, that's Data Republican's little logo. So here's the interesting thing about this. One of the also biggest donors to Punchbowl News happens to be, you're going to love this. Uh-oh, did I already click out? Oh, here it is. Love this. Punchbowl News gets 95% of its revenue from corporate sponsors, including, what does that say, Ron?
Alibaba, CCP.
Alibaba. State media must register as foreign agents under FARA unless you're just sponsoring a newsletter. This is how foreign operation works. Alibaba is one of Punchbowl's top sponsors. Yay, China.
Wow.
So now, why would John Thune be like, we don't have the votes and I'm not going to force him to vote. I don't have leverage on him. Blah, blah. Why?
Money straight from China?
Money straight from China. And what's the thing you're blocking right now that has 95% support? It'll likely be the most popular piece of legislation in the history of the United States. Oh, I don't have the votes. I got all these unelected senators over here that are benefactors of the China program and the stolen elections. And of course, I've got my corporate sponsors because I might be a benefactor myself. There it is, guys. Follow the money. Follow the ballots, follow the money. And they both lead back to what? Red CCP China. Here we are as peasants. I just don't want to pay income tax in Washington state. I just want to have no boys and girls locker rooms. I just want to say the Pledge of Allegiance and then go about my day and live life and have my religious beliefs. But instead, I got to deal with all this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta send my sons and daughters to fight overseas. Why? Well, narco-terrorists. No, it wouldn't even be a problem if we could have elections that would put criminals in prison in the first place. Slowly but surely, we've lost our political sovereignty to China. And we were this close to losing our national sovereignty to China. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When you have the leader of the Senate who's supposed to whip this thing and get it on the floor, and you're not going to lose any votes back home, John Thune, if you pass this.
But all we have to do to preserve that is to give up our personal sovereignty. It's okay, Taylor.
Yeah, exactly. What's the big deal here? Look at all the people China's raised out of poverty. They only had to kill off like 20% of their population to get there, if they even have the population they claim to have. Right? The whole thing, it's the same thread. This cabal wants to control everything, and the only way to control the world is you got to destroy the United States and her Constitution. That's the only way to do it, because we, the American people, are too strong. We act voluntarily. We act with absolute dedicated devotion. Why? Because we're self-interested people. As Ayn Rand says, it's the highest of virtues. Okay. It's what led to the 5,000-year leap. We declared independence, and here comes trains and internet, electricity, and space travel. Something that Rome couldn't accomplish in 2,000 years. You'd have to go back to Atlantis. The last time we've been at this level of technology, if Atlantis is real. So, what are they going to find? The DOJ went into Fulton County. The DOJ went into Maricopa County. What's going to be the result of all this?
What are they going to find in Fulton? What are they going to find in Maricopa? What is the big kahuna here?
Yeah, I think we're going to find that there are people serving in Congress and serving in other state offices that didn't win those elections. So we have, just like Joe Biden. So we're going to find that they're going to find criminal activities, particularly in as they have in Fulton County and, of course, Maricopa County. But those are tactics of the broader strategy. But I think what we're going to find is we're going to be looking at the results, the real results, once we, lay them out. And many of them have started to get laid out, particularly in Fulton County, because they're already down into the weeds of that. And we're going to see people that are serving in elected offices that were not elected. That's not a constitutional republic. That's a criminal enterprise.
What are they going to find?
Mm-hmm. As they said, a cabal. What an amazing journey we've been on. We could just wrap this show up and be like, yeah, okay, go secure your elections. John Solomon was on with Benny Johnson because we've had these big news stories. They had 4 operations against Donald Trump, and we're finding out about foreign influence. So it's been suspected. But now John Solomon has information on his desk, and he's saying in the next couple of days, we're going to find out more. And what are we going to find out that might sway some of these senators or not?
But your take on Maricopa County, you're saying that what's going to happen is we're going to find out the Chinese had a major heavy hand in rigging election. What's your take on the raid yesterday in Maricopa?
Yeah, it wasn't really a raid. It was a grand jury subpoena, but they grabbed the stuff. There will be some search warrants executed in the coming days based on my reporting. They're looking at, in Maricopa County, it's a very technical thing, just like it was in Georgia. Did you follow state law? Because if you didn't administer a federal election as it was supposed to be under state law, you can be charged federally. It's just about doing the right thing and following the law. But above that, not in Maricopa County, not in Fulton County, there is an extraordinary review going on by the CIA director, the FBI director, the director of national intelligence, so Tulsi Gabbard, John Radcliffe, and Kash Patel. They have found a body of documents that I think will trouble all of us and probably will have a profound effect on the Senate debate over the Save America Act. A lot of senators are sitting up there saying, I don't know if I need to vote for this. I don't know what the politics is. Wait a second. When they find out that maybe voter identities in their state databases were penetrated by China and used in influence operations, that may change their mind. And so I think the debate in the Senate could be informed by what comes out in the next few weeks.
Oh, fascinating.
Or they could be like, but we like it that way. This is right here. It's like we are on the cliff's edge of going deep into this and finding out how much our country's been stolen. There might be dog catchers in your local county that have to go be arrested for violating your rights under color of law that were put in by China. District attorneys, prosecutors, judges, county commissioners, planning board people, judges, in Washington state, our judges are elected and we have mail-in votes on Dominion machines. Do you trust our Supreme Court? Do you trust our judicial branch? Do you trust our legislatures? No! Even our Republicans, many of them are bought off. John Thune takes indirect benefit from Alibaba.
Good.
Okay. Harmeet Dillon was on with Chanel Rion talking about, she actually went out and was one of the political observers that went and put eyes on Maricopa County. And then she got into the Civil Rights Division. She's the assistant attorney general. So she saw it firsthand.
There's a lot of work, movement happening in Maricopa County, Arizona, a hotbed of election fraud. Do you expect anything interesting to come out of there? Is there anything you can share on that front?
There's nothing that I can share right now, but I can tell you, Chanel, that I've been on the ground in a couple of successive elections in Arizona, including being stationed there in 2024 and managing those operations from a political perspective. And some of the things I've seen over there are just like incompetence so bad, you have to wonder if it's deliberate. And, lack of chain of custody of ballots, improper sized ballots being provided, improper sized paper being provided for the print on demand ballots in the voter centers in Maricopa County. Random things like proper equipment not being available entire county-wide in some of the more rural areas there. It's really a shambolic and poorly run system in Arizona. And so whether it's fraud, whether it's incompetence, either way, that kind of thing really decreases the confidence of voters in the outcome of elections, which is a tragedy for any functioning republic or democracy. And we have to put a stop to that. Everybody should look at the outcome of an election and accept its results, feeling confident that you have a competent government doing their job and not just treating this like some second or third class right. It's a first class right in this country to vote and to have the ability and confidence that your vote is being counted once and only with American citizens. And the rest of the world, even countries that we kind of frown upon as not really being functional democracies like our democratic republic, they have elections in some of these third world countries and everyone accepts the outcome because looks like they're, at least that's being competently run in their country. We have the opposite here. A lot of things happen very well in our country, technology, but in this particular area, some states and many election officials have made it easy to cheat and also hard to have confidence in the outcome. And we're trying to put a stop to that in this administration.
They've made it easy to cheat. And who takes advantage of it? China, who's got a building full of people that study every county and their election rules. And they know how to cheat in every single county.
What a great word she used there. Shambolic.
Shambolic.
What a great.
Yep. Do you want to know what shambolic looks like when you have to defend a shambolic election? Here is Arizona's Secretary of State.
General Mays, let's talk about what is happening. The FBI conducting a probe of the 2020 election in Maricopa County. Tell me what you think is motivating the administration and how you plan to fight back.
Despite the fact that we have had multiple audits on our 2020 election, multiple investigations, all of which showed that our election was run absolutely solidly. We were on.
What about that missing equipment in rural counties, Sharpie Gate, missized printers, chain of custody problems? What the hell were ballots from Nevada doing in Maricopa County and Utah? What?
As far as I know, none of this has ever been, quote unquote, adjudicated. So what are you even talking about?
It was adjudicated. Don't question the elections. Dismissed on standing, right? Or laches. This is it. Straight to jail. Straight to jail. No soup for you. Okay. This is so bad, but that's it. We've been through audits, and we've stayed. We kept the keys to the building, so we're still in charge. Is what she's saying here,
yeah.
Right?
Fantastic.
Oh, and then here's the deflection. Oh, they're just coming after elections because
elections in the state of Arizona, and here they go again. And it's just an unbelievable waste of resources. And I think it's a distraction from the Epstein files. It's a distraction from the rising cost of gasoline due to the Iran war. And it's a distraction from the tariffs that are costing the American people so much money. So it's outrageous, and they ought to knock it off.
Oh, yeah. Outrageous. This is a waste of time, Taylor. Quit asking questions.
Yeah. Now, they've done some preemptive work because, there's a big scared. So Adrian Fontes and the Secretary of State there, they wrote a letter to the county recorders. Dear county recorders, in light of recent news of the Department of Justice, DOJ, subpoenaed county state Senate for records, and Senate held in connection with its 2021 subpoena of Maricopa for election records. So it goes on and kind of describes all that. And then it goes on to say here, listen, it says, thus far, 3 courts have addressed this issue and determined that state privacy laws, they're hiding behind privacy laws. There's nothing private. State privacy laws, law presumed by the federal law cited by DOJ, and therefore state statutes prohibit disclosure of private voter information, just like the federal law referenced above. As public servants, we took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the laws of the state of Arizona, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That oath, that state and federal law prohibit you from turning over unredacted voter files to the DOJ. But there's the whole oath constitution. If you get a federal subpoena, you're supposed to comply. We cannot overstate the importance of protecting voters' private data. We don't want anybody to know where these voters came from, that they came from China or they came from Mexico,
or they still live there.
Okay? As the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California concluded, it seems the executive branch of the United States government wants to abridge the right of many Americans to cast their ballots. Or we want to abridge the right of Chinese nationals to cast their ballots, or Mexicans to cast their ballots, or Iranians to cast their ballots, or Canadians to cast their ballots in America.
Or have them casting my ballots.
Yeah, or my ballots, yes. We have a sacred duty to protect our constituents' privacy and uphold the law, and we urge you to stand with American democracy, we're a republic, and protect Arizona citizens from the federal government's unprecedented abuse of authority. If your office receives a federal grand jury subpoena demanding that you turn over voters' private data, we urge you to notify our offices immediately so we can run interference. The grand jury should not serve to circumvent Arizona's ongoing lawsuit. But I thought we took an oath to the Constitution, which says if you get a grand jury subpoena from a federal thing, it's superior to the state. Okay. Offices immediately. The grand jury should not serve to circumvent Arizona's ongoing lawsuit, and our offices will pursue all legal actions available to prevent the Department of Justice from misusing grand jury process. I implore you to fulfill your oath by declining any such legal demands. That's sedition.
I was just going to say, that sounds like Mark Kelly.
Yes. The cabal. Our offices are committed to upholding the sanctity of Arizona's elections and democratic processes. We will pursue to the fullest extent of the law all possible remedies to ensure the integrity of Arizona's elections and the privacy rights of its citizens. Respectfully, Chris Mays and Adrian Fontes. Adrian Fontes, whose dad was a cartel member and he was a cartel lawyer. Oh, fun. Now, Mark Elias weighs in, and whenever Mark Elias weighs in, you know it's a heavy hitter. You know, he had an indictment ready to go by Mueller?
No.
Or Durham. He had an indictment by Durham, and then big DOJ stepped in and said no indictment for Mark Elias. He was indicted. Okay. We just found out this week with one of these disclosures.
Look, I think you put it really well in the introduction that the 2026 midterm elections are all around us. The attacks on democracy are all around us.
Yeah. They're all around us. They're in Iran. They're in Venezuela. They're in the Strait of Taiwan. The 2020 election is all around us. That's all this is about. That's all it's about. It's not about anything else. It's not about drug trafficking. CIA was in on that. It's not about, money laundering and financial fraud. Politicians have had their hands out forever. It's not about any of that.
Here's a quick hot take. Those boats they blew up, the drug trafficking boats.
They had ballots on them, not cocaine.
No, that was just the competition.
Exactly. Okay. So this is all about the elections. Yes. Epstein files, everything. Because remember, Epstein was tied in with the Russiagate platters, Kathy Rumner, and on and on. This is all about the midterms. It's all around us. It's not a distraction from, it's a diversion when we focus on that. That's what's great about this show, The Peasant's Perspective. My most valuable form of currency is my ballot. We can flush out all the nonsense with free and fair elections. And we can...
We just need about 300 million more subscribers to get our message out.
Share the show. Seriously. If there is institutional suppression, they would suppress this show because we cut through the bullshit of all the other stuff and bring it back to where it actually matters. This is about the midterms because it's about your ballots. When Lisa, 1776live.us, don't forget to register for Ignite tomorrow night, said to me, I wish Trump wouldn't have done this Iran thing right before the midterms. He had to. He had to. He had to. Because you got to pull up. You got to get to China. You got to put them in check. I sure hope we don't go to war with China this summer.
No.
Right? But you've got to put them in a position where they're not going to do it again.
I don't want to go to war with anybody.
I don't want to go with anyone. But my ballot is all I have. I either have ballots or I have bullets. There's no middle ground. When you want to determine the course of our lives and our futures and our children's future and our posterity, you have ballots or you have bullets.
And we're doing this podcast because we want to stay on the ballot side.
We want to stay on the ballot side. I already shook a gate. Okay.
And my fear is that people are not focused on these things, until way too close to election day. I mean, as you point out, we've now had 2 counties have their ballots seized, one by subpoena and one by search warrant. We have the Department of Justice in court trying to get access to the most sensitive data on voters that states keep in 30 states. At least a dozen Republican-controlled states have turned that data over voluntarily. You have Congress having enacted a version of the SAVE Act, which would be a catastrophe for voters. You have the president insisting that that doesn't go far enough and needs to also include provisions that do away with all voting by mail and that he'll shut down all congressional business. He has said he will issue an executive order if Congress doesn't do this. I mean, we are on a fast-moving train towards an absolute collision point for democracy between the president of the United States and the rule of law and free and fair elections. I said this in the run-up to the 2020 election, and I know, Nicole, you and have been sounding the alarm as well. But we need everyone now to recognize that collision is not going to wait till November. It's going to start to take place before that.
Yeah, I feel like it's also a roller derby, right? Where like punches are being thrown and elbows are being shoved into ribs now. I mean, why does the FBI have election material from Maricopa County?
They have election material from Maricopa County for 2 reasons. And I think people need to internalize that both of these things are true. Okay. Number one, Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, and he is on a vindictive campaign to go after anyone who says that he lost it. Right. So they are getting.
It's not so much anyone who says they lost it; it's anyone who caused them to lost it, a la Venezuela, Iran.
Right. That thing that he said, there's 2 truths. He immediately told an untruth, a partial truth.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Yes, Donald Trump is on a vindictive campaign.
But he didn't
on my
lose.
behalf, for Taylor. He's on a vindictive campaign to go after the people who stole my ballots. Right. So, yeah, I mean, there's a grain of truth in that.
Data in Fulton County and in Maricopa County to continue to spread the big lie about the outcome of the 2020 election and to criminally prosecute anyone he possibly can who has told the truth. That is one reason. But there is a second reason that is independently important. And that is, it is a dry run for 2026. Every time they engage in these tactics, they learn something about the logistics of seizing ballots. And that's no small thing. I mean, in Fulton County, remember, they went and got a search warrant, and then it turns out their search warrant was wrong because it targeted the wrong facility or the wrong place. Well, in the process of fixing that, they learned something about how you seize ballots in Fulton County. When you saw the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, on an evidence truck, it was alarming because Tulsi Gabbard is the director of national intelligence. She was on an evidence truck. But what you saw were boxes of ballots, and they learned a lot about how many trucks you need to get all the ballots, how the boxes need to be stacked. Are they pre-boxed in the facility, or do you need to bring boxes? And the same thing is happening here. So it is both a way of vilifying people over the 2020 election and being vindictive there, but it is also critically a dry run for what they expect to be prepared for and want to be prepared for in 2026
Man,
I mean,
think
Nick,
it'd take me 10 minutes to rip this apart.
Of the Arizona vote was done by a super MAGA outfit called something like Ninja Mutant Turtles or
Cyber Ninjas. It was the Cyber Ninjas, and it is a silly name. It is a silly name. But what they do is they do cybersecurity and forensic
I
analysis.
know,
and
but
stuff
she
like that.
butchered it on purpose and made it sound kid-like.
Of course she did. Yeah, it was a silly name, but nonetheless, very legitimate firm
or something. I mean, this wasn't even the Republican governor. It was also a Trump backer. This was like a MAGA outfit for profit.
All right.
And I don't know that they were all that MAGA, to be completely honest with you. The amount of pressure they had not to put in the report that the results that they had were conclusive that the election was fraudulent was immense, and they buckled. They absolutely buckled. If you go read that Cyber Symposium report, you just walk away going, what? Misprinted ballots, Sharpie markers, matching signatures to the thousands. I mean, it's like, what? Oh, it wasn't dispositive on the election, though. What? Okay. One of the things
we were just LARPing.
Yeah. One of the things that the left is just masterful at is manipulating every system that we have. And one of the systems we have is trial by jury, right? If you're going to bring criminal charges, we are given constitutional protections that say that it has to be brought by a grand jury. If you're going to spend a year or more in jail, you have a right to have a grand jury look at that information, and then you have a right to be tried by a jury of your peers. Well, the left is getting really organized because they know one of the worst things that could happen to their political power is for the criminals to go to jail. I know it sounds crazy, right? I know it sounds crazy. Remember, Joe Biden did let out thousands of criminals in his last days. Okay. But they clearly have an affinity for lack of law and order. It creates a necessity for them to be benefactors. If your neighborhoods aren't safe, well, vote for me and I'll send an extra cop.
It's astonishing.
Whatever the case is. So one of the things they're doing is they're actually holding trainings and training camps teaching American citizens. If you went to one of these events and you got taught this, you might not get called for a jury for 5-6 years, but you're going to remember what you learned.
James, given your experience as a former agent, how tough it is to put these cases together meticulously with evidence, what type of threat does this organization pose to our judicial system?
Laura, huge threat. And I love the definition that they give. They're self-described, the Freedom Trainers, as a loose network of trainers teaching collective non-cooperation. Now, Laura, what are they not cooperating with? Our justice system, which is inarguably the best in the world. And what is the jury selection system? That is the process where we choose jurors who are impartial individuals for a trial. Now, I have sat in as the lead FBI agent on cases during what's called voir dire. Voir dire is where you get an opportunity to check and evaluate witnesses for how good or how suited they are. They are teaching these potential jurors to not tell the truth, to say that you'll be impartial and not do so.
Yep. So they're spoiling the institution of the grand jury and the trial and the jury trial.
Now, aren't there consequences for doing something like that?
Yeah, it's called acquittal. Drop charges, which means criminals can potentially get let free. Now, I am not anti you should learn your rights and learn what your rights are and what you can do as a juror. I do believe in jury nullification. I totally believe in it. Right? Yep. Because jury nullification is given to we the people. It's our veto power.
Yeah.
Okay? And what do we get to veto? There's 3 branches of government. The legislative branch writes the laws. So a jury can look at a charge and an event and go, that law is stupid. The legislature messed up. And you can nullify the conviction or the charge, which is basically a slap to the legislature saying that law is bad. Judges and the judicial process, right, because the judicial branch oversees it, they can make critical missteps. They could show bias. There's a whole bunch of things that they can do. And a jury can go, this isn't fair. And a juror can go, I don't think this process is fair. This guy's getting railroaded. And they can nullify the judicial process.
Okay.
The other thing is obviously the prosecutor. the executive branch who executes the laws, if they think that it's not fair, the charges aren't right, whatever the case is, a jury can nullify, right? And basically say, nope, go back to start. So it is our veto vote. Right now, if anybody in a United States courtroom says the said nullify, the judge will start screaming. Okay. I know because I tried it. Okay? They don't want to talk about it because it is the people's veto. There's a room with 12 people in it and one person who says, I'm not acquitting and I'm not convicting. I'm nullifying. I don't like the whole thing. It stinks to high heaven, right? Whole process comes to a grinding halt. That's how much power you have. As an American, you only get to vote a couple times. You get a ballot once every year for local, every 2 years for federal. You get a jury vote. Those are the two votes that you get. Those are the two moments where you get to set the government in motion and you get to shut it down. Those are the two most important things you get. When we talk about being a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, that's it. It's a bicycle, and those are that's where the rubber meets the road.
Everything else in your life should be pursuing freedom and happiness. Everything else.
And let the process play out.
Yep.
And then reevaluate it every year when you go to vote. You know what I mean? That's how it's supposed to be. And when you recognize the power of that, you desire to be an informed elector. You desire to put good people into power that share your ideology, your belief systems, your faith, whatever it is, right? But when that's taken from you, you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. As Dan Carlin said, it's one big club and you ain't in it. Okay. But you are in it. The government, the Constitution is a reflection of the Constitution of the people. What can we take? And in 2020, a lot of Americans woke up, right? I wouldn't say I wasn't awake, but I was like, time to go protest. And I took it. My particular case, I accepted everything. I didn't care what they said about me because I knew that at the end of the day, they didn't actually have authority to adjudicate me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I just took it, accepted it all. And as you guys know, you listen to me every day. I'm not particularly bitter about it. It had to happen, right? I had great-great-grandfathers who fought in the Revolutionary War. Had to happen. Yep. You put your life at risk. You put things at risk. Why? Because I care about the world my children grow up in. I care deeply about that. Carolyn Levitt had a press briefing, and she's emphasizing in all the chaos around the world, in all the things that are happening, and all the cards Trump is playing, and everything he's doing, it all boils down to one thing and one thing only.
Demand that Congress pass the Save America Act, requiring proof of citizenship to vote.
He wants all options on the table, and he wants the Senate to move as quickly as possible through whatever means necessary.
But Senate Majority Leader John Thune is doubtful the Senate can execute President Trump's directive.
Do you run a risk of being on the wrong side of President Trump in your resistance to do this talking filibuster, tying the Senate in knots for weeks?
We don't have the votes either to proceed, get on a talking filibuster, nor to sustain one if we got on it.
Does he understand that, though?
Well, we've conveyed that to him. I'm the one who has to be the clear-eyed realist about what we can achieve here.
Some Republicans worry that a protracted debate about voter security could devolve into a political free-for-all, ranging from January 6th to the Epstein files.
Are we opening ourselves up to a series of losing control of the floor, having votes that are probably not good?
President Trump has delayed his endorsement in the Texas Senate race. It's an effort to apply pressure on GOP Senator John Cornyn and other Republicans to pass the bill. Brett?
I do believe some of the senators are just so ignorant of the facts because they're in a punch bowl.
Yeah.
That they don't recognize it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
It's all one conversation. Epstein, January 6th, Russia Gate, Ukraine Gate, the Russia-Ukraine war. It's all connected. It's all connected. Harmeet Dillon was on with John Solomon. She talks about accountability. Are there going to be criminal charges for the weaponization?
Well, it could be. You know, a lot of the stuff has been concealed. I think it's come out there that FBI has found things and restricted access or prohibited access. Things have been dumped and shoved and mislabeled deliberately and concealed. And that itself is, of course, obstruction of justice. And so pulling on that thread and untangling it and getting to the bottom of it is a challenge. And you see a lot of frustration online, John. I get it. Just about every time I announce something that my office has done almost daily or sometimes more than once a day. Where the arrests are, we don't believe it anymore. I mean, we have due process in our country, and our standard is a high one. And so you're not going to have arrests at the front end. The arrests happen at the back end of an investigation, not at the front end of that. So we are diligently working together as a huge DOJ with, tens of thousands of employees nationally and working on these issues. But justice must be served in these circumstances. And I do feel it will be. I personally am committed to it in whatever small part I can play. Civil Rights Division investigates conspiracies against civil rights. We've brought some criminal charges in that regard. You've seen that in Minnesota, and you will see more of those cases. And so you have a team of, I think, the most zealous advocates for liberty at the DOJ, and I'm really proud to be a small part of Pam Bondi's team with Todd Blanche and others who are doing a great job.
They're hitting their stride. I talked to a whistleblower the other day, said it took 10 years for the weaponized government to do all the things it did. It's going to take us a little time to unravel, particularly when it's hidden.
Oh, let me tell you something. I learned recently from the reports about Arctic Frost that my law firm was targeted.
You were targeted?
Years ago.
Yeah.
No one told us. I never got a notice. No one told us that outrageously there was an attempt to pierce our attorney-client privilege communications with our client and the campaign, the president, the Republican National Committee. So I'm as outraged as anybody about this and as motivated to make sure that these violations of our civil rights should never happen again. And these are the most precious common law rights, the attorney-client privilege, your privacy rights, and their natural rights as well. People have very casually waived these rights and said everything is Google has it, it's in the cloud or what have you. No, we have rights to privacy in our country, and that DOJ officials who work in the same building as who worked in the same building as I currently work in, shredded those rights, should be morally offensive to every American, regardless of politics.
You're confident they shredded our rights, aren't you?
I'm very I know it.
You know it.
I believe it. I know it. I've seen some things that shocked me to the conscience and to my core as a lawyer for more than 3 decades. We have to stop it.
Yeah, well, this will be the moment. We'll know in the next couple of years, I think, what the ultimate outcome, but it is an amazing.
If you're in the punditry space and you're not talking about how the election connects to everything, you're missing the whole thing. These people are champions. Harmeet Dillon, Kash Patel, sure, goes and parties with the hockey team. He was spied on. You don't think he's trying to do something about it? Prevent it from happening again? Trump? You know what I mean? Like, you're missing it. If you're criticizing every single move they make, you have no idea what they're doing behind the scenes. Just like we had no idea when the FBI was being weaponized under our noses. You have no idea what they're doing. Just like we have no idea what's really happening in Iran. We just get these little news blurbs and we get to pull it all together. And over time, you start to see a lot of stuff stacking up as evidence of what is really happening. You have to triangulate it. You can't just follow one person unless it's us. All right, guys, we're going to jump over into private. Hopefully accountability is coming. I'm going to play for you what I think is one of the dumbest thing Mike Johnson has ever said. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Epstein murder and how that prison guard that took the $5,000 and was Googling Epstein minutes before he died, how she's going to be getting a subpoena. I think she's just the cover-up girl, personally, because I don't think she had the strength to strangle Epstein. I think someone else did the dirty work.
No chance.
But I think she knows a little something about it. And this completely jives with my firsthand account from in prison from an inmate that was on the block that said he saw the video and was essentially paralyzed as a shot across the bow, I guess you could say. So I have it jives with that. We're also going to hear the long form of one of the clips I played. We're going to hear the long form of it from John Solomon that goes into more detail, tying some of it all together. And then we're also going to be talking about Zorro Ranch. They're investigating Zorro Ranch finally. And James Comer talks about this. And I'm going to point out one little sentence he says in this clip. And I'm going to go, that right there is the door to cover up. Okay. I'm going to show it to you so you can hear these things. Because when you hear stuff like that, you're like, whoa. You're wanting me to believe a story and you're prepping me to believe it when you release the report, so to speak. Which is the government's MO, right? That's the whole problem with internal investigations, IG reports. Right. They tend to be like, okay, we investigated, nothing to see there, folks. Shut up.
And then and also drip, drip, drip with a little bit of info.
Drip, drip, drip with a little bit of info. They kind of disclose what they have to disclose, and then they wrap it up in a nice bow and say nothing to see here, folks. Right. So I'm going to show you the one sentence that when you hear that sentence, your antenna should go way up, right? If it's worth investigating, there's probably criminal activity. So when investigations are publicly put out there and then we don't see something come of it, it's almost certainly a cover up. Okay, guys. So we'll talk to you guys in private that are sticking around, and the rest of you,